From Curo, I'm with the Executive Director of Customer Experience. That is Paul Harris. Paul, thanks for running us through so far the changes within Curo, the situation that a lot of your residents are finding themselves in at the moment. And I'd like to talk more about your residents as well. My understanding is 13,000 or so clients that you have, about 3,000 in North East Somerset. In particular about how you're servicing them, what improvements do you think have happened, and what more improvements do you plan to help your residents over the next period of time?
So we have 13,000 homes, as you say. There's probably about 30,000 people living in those.
Okay,
homes.
right, yeah.
And that's right across, large parts of the west of England, including where you're based. The things that we've been trying to improve over the past couple of years, there's many of them, and we haven't always got it right, but we're trying to improve our repairs service. We know that a lot of people will need repairs at some point or other. We do about 35,000 repairs a year.
Wow, that's an average 2 per residence then, more than 2 per residence.
Yeah, it is, and some of that just goes to the fact that a lot of the homes that we are landlord of are quite old. They're council homes from the 50s and 60s, so they need a little bit of love quite frequently. So we do a lot of repairs. We have seen quite a few improvements in our repair service. So we measure customer satisfaction every time we visit somebody. And we've seen that the scores that we get from customers have gone right up there, 91% at the moment, saying that they're satisfied. So we know that when we get to someone's home and do a repair, we're able to do it pretty well, and we're able to do it in the vast majority of time in one go. What we are focusing on now is trying to just cut down the wait time that you might have to endure before we turn up, and we've got quite a few ideas about how we can do that. But we've also improved lots of other areas, and one of the things that I'm really keen to keep driving is getting more residents involved with how we run the business. So we have a resident engagement framework where we've got about 16 or 17 different ways that customers can come and help us with stuff, and we're really open to getting more input from our customers so that the improvements that we make are the ones that they want to see, rather than us guessing or having a go at something and it's maybe not quite right. So,
can you give an example of that then, where you think that the engagement from residents would make your service better, Paul?
Well, it could be in absolutely any area. So, for example, we have a disability action group, and one of the things that we know we need to get better is how we can tailor our services for people who've got mental or physical health challenges. The members of that group meet quite frequently. I think they're about to meet again in the next week or so. And their insight is really helpful for us because, it's sometimes difficult for us to work out what's the best way of delivering this or providing this for somebody who is in a wheelchair or somebody who has got autism or whatever it might be. And hearing from those people directly is really helping us think through how we can improve the way that we deliver those services.
It is interesting, and I think that perhaps goes back to, you talked about the 600 colleagues you work with and the fact there's been no physical meeting or not any large-scale physical meeting. And I guess it must be a little bit the same if you're trying to get feedback from your clients. It's the best way, I think, of perhaps of ultimately getting feedback is through physical contact, which is a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it is. But one of the things that we changed in terms of our resident engagement program was it used to be just face-to-face, and it used to be just 2 or 3 meetings that we would organise. And frankly, the same people came to them and said the same things to us all the time, and we didn't really learn an awful lot from it. What we wanted to do was to make this a bit more representative, and one of the things that we did before lockdown was we provided a load more digital channels that people could use. So not everyone's cup of tea, obviously, but those people who use digital, there's loads of ways that you can get involved with us now without leaving your home. And because of lockdown, we've had to make pretty much everything digital, and it's worked. And I had a session on Wednesday evening with a bunch of customers, which was really, really helpful to me because they were all telling me real stuff about what's going on in their lives and what we can do to improve it.
It's interesting.
And the fact that they were on a screen didn't really make a huge amount of difference.
Well, I wondered, do you think obviously it's easier to access if it is done through a screen, but I wonder as well if they're perhaps a little bit more open because they're not actually sitting in an office with you or any of your colleagues, and perhaps they're a bit more relaxed about giving you some feedback because they're actually sitting in their own homes.
I'm sure that's true for some people, Richard. I'd have to say as well, my experience with Curo is that customers haven't ever been backwards and coming forward.
Okay.
But I do think that's probably true, and it just means it's also more convenient. So for those people who use digital, if they want to do something at 7 in the evening with us rather than 10 o'clock in the morning, then we can do that, and we can do it quicker maybe as well, and we don't have to travel anywhere. So it definitely has its benefits, but equally, there are some people for whom digital is not the solution, and they don't want to use it, or they can't afford it. And we need to keep making sure that we find ways of getting those people's voices heard too.
Okay. Well, certainly as the months progress, and I just want to state at this stage that, of course, Curo are one of our sponsors, which I'm very grateful for, so this is part of the reason that we're doing this interview. But one of the things I'm going to be doing as the months progress this year is actually taking Vox Pops in the High Street. So hopefully getting some feedback from people direct through asking them the right questions, which we can then pass on to yourselves. But I like this. I want to just go back another step. People obviously talk about equipment and old stock and replenishment and depreciation. Pretty difficult, I guess, if you've got council homes that go back 70, 80 years in terms of when they originally built, short of knocking them down and starting again. So what do you do? Do you actually work on the basis that you will have to change these homes as times go on, or do you look at these old council houses and think, we've just got to work with them as best we can?
I mean, it's more of the latter, frankly. What we have to do, because we're a regulated organisation, we have to give our regulator a 30-year investment plan. So we have to tell the regulator how we think we will use our money over quite a long period of time. Yeah. And the vast majority of that money is spent on homes. The difficulty for us is, as we said before, it would be great if we could provide everybody with a brand new home, but it doesn't work financially. And, we're not a wealthy organisation. So we don't get government funding or anything like that, and most of our money comes in from rent, and our rents are much lower than the market average. So we have to use that money as best we can, and certainly for now, the plan is that we have to keep doing what we can to maintain those older homes. We are producing new homes every year, and we do buy new homes from other developers as well. So every year, the last few years, we've had about 300 homes every year that have been brand new, and a good proportion of those are at lower rent. So we are adding new homes to our stock as well as maintaining the older ones.